I gained 22 pounds in 8 months. Same meals I'd been eating for years. Same routine. Nothing in my life had changed, except I had just turned 35. When I went to my doctor, you know what he told me? He leaned back in his chair, looked at my chart, and said, "That's just what happens at your age. Your metabolism slows down. It's normal." And I remember sitting in that office thinking, that can't be the whole story. That cannot be the answer. So I went home and I started digging. And what I found over the next several months genuinely changed everything for me. Not just my weight, but my energy, my sleep, the way I feel waking up in the morning. Here's what nobody tells you. After 35, your metabolism doesn't just randomly slow down. There are specific biological switches that flip. And once you understand what those switches are, you can actually hit them in reverse. You can reset things, but only if you know what you're dealing with. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through all 3 of those switches, and I'm going to give you the exact protocol I use to turn them back on. Stay with me through the 3rd one especially, because that's the one that tied everything together, and honestly, the one I had never heard anyone talk about before. Let's start with what's actually happening in your body. When most people hit their mid-30s, 3 things start shifting at the same time. And the reason this feels so sudden, even though it's been building quietly, is because all 3 of them compound each other. The first thing that shifts is your muscle mass. After 35, your body starts losing roughly 1% of its muscle tissue every single year. Now, that might not sound like much, but muscle is your metabolic engine. It's the tissue in your body that burns the most calories, even when you're sitting still, even when you're sleeping. So when you start losing it quietly, year after year, your resting calorie burn drops with it. You're not eating more. You're just burning less, and nobody told you that was happening. The second thing that shifts is your cortisol response. Cortisol is your stress hormone, and after 35, it becomes significantly more sensitive. What this means practically is that everyday stress, work pressure, poor sleep, even scrolling through your phone first thing in the morning, starts sending much stronger signals to your body to hold on to fat, especially around your midsection. Your body reads stress as danger. And when it senses danger, the last thing it wants to do is burn its reserves. And the third thing, this is the one your doctor almost certainly won't bring up in a 10-minute appointment, is that your mitochondria start going dormant. Your mitochondria are the tiny furnaces inside every cell in your body. They are literally what converts the food you eat into usable energy. And after 35, the levels of a critical compound called NAD+ start to drop, which is essentially the electrical current that powers those furnaces, drop by as much as 50%. Low NAD+ means sluggish mitochondria. Sluggish mitochondria means your body cannot efficiently burn what you're feeding it, and no amount of cutting carbs or doing more cardio fixes dormant mitochondria. You're solving the wrong problem. This is exactly why the standard advice fails so many people after 35. Eat less, move more, cut the sugar, and people do those things, genuinely, faithfully, and the results just aren't there the way they used to be. It's not a willpower problem, it's a biology problem. You're playing by the old rules when the game has completely changed. So let's talk about how to change it back. The first switch is what I call the muscle signal. And the key insight here is that most people over 35 are doing the wrong kind of exercise for their metabolism. Cardio is not your friend here, at least not as your primary tool. Cardio burns calories while you're doing it. Resistance training burns calories for 24 to 48 hours after you stop. That's the afterburn effect, and it's dramatically more powerful for people in this age group. But here's the specific piece that most people completely miss, and it has nothing to do with the gym. It's about what you eat within the first 45 minutes of waking up. You need to get 30 to 40 grams of protein into your body within that window. Not coffee, not a piece of fruit, protein. Eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, a protein shake, whatever works for you. The reason this matters so much is that it sends a direct signal to your muscle tissue to stay metabolically active. It activates a process called muscle protein synthesis, which is essentially your body's way of maintaining and rebuilding muscle. When you skip breakfast or start your day with sugar and caffeine, you're sending the opposite signal. You're telling your body that resources are scarce and it should slow things down. I did the morning protein habit alone for 14 days before I added anything else. And within that first 2 weeks, my afternoon energy crash, which had become something I just accepted as part of my life, was almost completely gone. That one change was enough to tell me I was onto something real. The second switch is breaking what I now call the cortisol trap. And this one is uncomfortable because it asks you to change a habit that most of us do automatically without even thinking about it. Within 10 minutes of waking up, the majority of people are already on their phones, checking messages, reading news, scrolling through social media. And every single notification, every stressful headline, every email waiting for your response. Each one of those triggers a cortisol spike. First thing in the morning, before you've even had water, before your nervous system has had a chance to calibrate for the day. And here's why that's so damaging metabolically. Your cortisol is supposed to peak naturally in the morning. It's what gets you up, gets you alert, gets you moving. But it's supposed to do that on its own and then decline through the day. When you flood it with external stress triggers right out of the gate, you push cortisol into a range that signals your body to conserve fat, especially visceral fat, the kind that sits around your organs and your waistline. The fix is genuinely simple. Keep your phone face down for the first 30 minutes after you wake up. Go outside and get natural light in your eyes, even just 5 minutes standing on your porch or by a window. Morning light exposure resets your circadian rhythm, naturally brings cortisol back into its healthy curve, and research has shown it can meaningfully improve fat metabolism throughout the rest of the day. 5 minutes of morning light sounds almost insultingly simple for something this powerful. But this is not bro science. This is circadian biology that's been documented in peer-reviewed research. Your body has a built-in system for managing energy and stress, and light is one of the primary inputs that calibrates it. When you work with that system instead of against it, things start to shift. Now, we get to the third switch. And I want you to really pay attention here, because this is the piece that made everything else click into place for me. This is also the one that took me the longest to find, because almost nobody in the mainstream health space talks about it in a way that's actually actionable. We talked earlier about mitochondria, those tiny cellular furnaces that convert your food into energy. And we talked about how NAD+ levels, the compound that powers those furnaces, drop significantly after 35. What I didn't tell you yet is what you can actually do about it. Now you could go spend $150 a month on NMN or NR supplements, and honestly, some of the research on those is promising. But what I want to share with you is something you can start doing this week for free that triggers your body to produce more NAD+ on its own, and more importantly, signals your body to actually build new mitochondria from scratch. This is called mitochondrial biogenesis, and it sounds complicated, but the concept is simple. Your body, under the right conditions, will grow new energy-producing machinery inside your cells. You are not stuck with the mitochondrial capacity you have right now. You can expand it, and when you do, your metabolism doesn't just return to where it was. It can actually get stronger than it was before 35. The way to trigger this is through something I call the Metabolic Contrast Protocol. And here is exactly how it works. 3 times a week, you do 3 things back to back. First, 10 minutes of easy aerobic movement, a brisk walk, a light bike ride, anything that gets your body warm and your heart rate gently elevated. You are not going hard here. You are just priming the system. Immediately after that, you shift into 4 minutes of high-intensity effort. A short sprint, climbing stairs as fast as you can, jumping jacks, burpees, whatever is available to you. The specific exercise doesn't matter. What matters is that you go from easy to hard quickly. You are creating a sharp metabolic contrast. And then, immediately after that intensity burst, you do 90 seconds of cold exposure. A cold shower is the most accessible option. If that feels like too much at first, cold water on your face, your neck, and your wrists will activate enough of the same response to get you started. Now, here is why this specific sequence works. That shift from aerobic to anaerobic effort activates a protein in your body called PGC1 alpha. Think of PGC1 alpha as the master switch for mitochondrial production. When it gets activated, it sends a signal throughout your body to build new mitochondria, to literally grow more of the machinery your cells use to produce energy. The cold exposure amplifies this signal by triggering an additional stress response that reinforces the message your body just received. You are not just burning a few extra calories during those 14 minutes. You are sending your body a biological instruction, one that says the environment demands more energy production, so build the infrastructure to support it. And your body listens. I want to be honest with you about the timeline here, because I think unrealistic expectations are one of the main reasons people quit before they see results. When I started combining all three switches together, the morning protein, the cortisol reset, and the metabolic contrast protocol, the first thing I noticed was not on the scale. It was how I felt. Within the first week, I was sleeping more deeply. I was waking up without that heavy, foggy feeling I had gotten so used to. My focus during the day felt sharper. These were signals that something was actually shifting at the cellular level, not just surface level changes. By the end of week 3, the scale had moved. I was down about 4 pounds. But more importantly, the way my clothes were fitting had changed even more than the number suggested, because what was happening was a simultaneous shift, losing fat while beginning to rebuild muscle tissue. The composition of my body was changing, not just the weight. By the 6-week mark, I was down 11 pounds, and I want to be clear, I was not in a severe calorie deficit. I was not doing 2-hour gym sessions. I was not white-knuckling my way through a restrictive diet. I was eating real food, prioritizing protein, managing my morning cortisol, and doing 14 minutes of the contrast protocol 3 times a week. That was the foundation. What made it work was not the intensity of any single habit. It was the fact that all 3 switches were being addressed at the same time. The protein was keeping my muscle signal active, the morning light was keeping my cortisol curve healthy, and the contrast protocol was rebuilding the mitochondrial infrastructure that everything else depends on. They work together. That's the part most programs miss. They fix one piece without addressing the whole system. I've shared this protocol with a lot of people since then, and the pattern I hear back most consistently is the same one I experienced. Energy comes back first. Sleep improves. Then the physical changes start showing up, and they tend to stick, because they're built on a metabolic foundation that actually supports them. If you are over 35 and you feel like your body has been working against you, like you're doing the right things and not seeing the results you used to, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not broken. Your metabolism is not broken. It has simply received a set of signals that told it to slow down and conserve. Your job now is to send it different signals. And the beautiful thing about biology is that it responds. It responds faster than most people expect, and more completely than most people believe is possible. Start with Switch 1 tomorrow morning. Get your protein in within 45 minutes of waking up. Just that. Do it for a week and pay attention to how your afternoons feel. Then layer in the morning light habit. Then add the contrast protocol. You don't have to overhaul your entire life at once. You just have to start sending your body the right signals in the right order. That's what a metabolism reset actually looks like. Not a detox, not a 30-day challenge. Just working with your biology instead of fighting it. If this gave you something useful, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button. It genuinely helps more people find this content. And drop a comment below and tell me which of the 3 switches you're starting with. I read every single one, and I love hearing what's working for people. There's another video right on your screen now that goes deeper into the specific foods that naturally support NAD+ production. No supplements required. I think you'll find it just as useful as this one. Go check it out. Thanks for watching True Health Tales. If this helped you, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss the next truth.